When Francis Scott Key was inspired to write the poem that became the Star-Spangled Banner, America had been at war with Britain for over 2 years in what would come to be known as the War of 1812. A mighty British fleet entered Chesapeake Bay, and by the evening of August 24th, the British troops had invaded and captured Washington, D.C., setting fire to the Capitol building and the President's house. They then turned their attention to Baltimore, the country's third largest city. But this time, the Americans were prepared. Fort McHenry guarded the entrance to Baltimore Harbor by way of the Patapsco River. It faced almost certain attack by British forces and had been greatly strengthened in anticipation. Months earlier, Major George Armistead, the fort's commander, had asked for a flag so big that the British would have no trouble seeing it from a distance. Mary Young Pickersgill, a Baltimore widow experienced in making ship flags, was commissioned to make a United States flag that measured 30 feet by 42 feet. Together with her 13-year-old daughter Caroline, she spent several weeks measuring, cutting, and sewing the 15 stars and stripes. During their withdrawal from Washington, D.C., the British had arrested Dr. William Beans, an elderly and much-loved physician. Armed with a letter from President Madison, Francis Scott Key, a respected young lawyer living in Georgetown, went to Baltimore to try to obtain the release of his friend, Dr. Beans. Key set sail from Baltimore with American Colonel John Skinner, and on September 7th, they boarded one of the British ships to confer with its officers about releasing Dr. Beans. The British admiral finally agreed, but would not release the Americans immediately because they had seen and heard too much of the preparations for the attack on Baltimore. He placed them under guard and forced them to wait out the battle behind the British fleet. On Sunday, September 11th, the British fleet arrived at the mouth of the Patapsco River. It had been the British plan to take the city from both land and sea, but Fort McHenry stood solidly in the way of all ships.